Hello, fellow midlifers. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm sharing why I invest slower but smarter in my 40s. I started my real estate journey at 40. I bought my first rental at 40, and my vision was called the stack. I think it's a concept from Brandon Turner, if my memory serves me right. And it talks about making it in 5 years, or like really growing in 5 years. And it looks something like this. Year one, buy a duplex at $100 a door. So that's $100 cash flow per door. So that's about a $200 cash flow in year one. Year two, buy a quadplex. So you're adding $400 to your yearly cash flow. Year three, buy an eightplex. So that's an additional $800 a month. Year four, buy a 16plex. And year five, buy a 32plex. After 5 years, I'd have more than $6,000 a month in cash flow and over 60 doors. And this looked really great on paper. And so I went on and wrote it down, made it my goal, and bought that first rental. It wasn't a duplex, it was a single family home in 2021, 4 years ago. As I took this journey, as I started that journey, I started to learn more about myself and my preferences as a real estate investor, as well as my season in life. The first deal turned out to be pretty good. It wasn't a home run, but it was good enough for a proof of concept. If you're curious to learn about that deal, I'm gonna leave a link in the description. But that deal gave me the confidence to keep on investing. I learned that I love the game. I love the real estate game. And while I love the game, I also learned that there are so many variables to this game. There's property managers, contractors, tenants, then there's interest rates. So just a lot of variables. And I also realized about myself that I want to keep it as low a lift as possible and as less variables as possible. I don't want it to take over my life. More houses means more responsibility. More properties also compounds the risks. And so about 2 years ago, I read the book, The Small and Mighty Real Estate Investor by Chad Carson. And he talked about the concept of, instead of chasing property count, quality of properties and quality of life matter more. And this resonated with me in my 40s. I'm a little more cautious and a little more conservative. I learned that investing takes time, and you don't know what you don't know, even if you've read a lot of books and you've watched a lot of YouTube videos and you're part of a real estate community and you can reach out to investors. Those are all great, and you should definitely do all those things. But there's always going to be things that come up that's just going to surprise you, or you're going to miss out on certain things like certain due diligence items. And I've talked about those kinds of issues in my previous videos. And as I experienced all these things the first 4 years, I realized that slow and steady wins the race. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I need to get to the 10-year mark slowly and surely. And so I've reshifted my mindset that I don't need 60 plus doors. I may not even need 10. I started to dial in on a lot of basics. The first basic that I focused on was bookkeeping. And that was really keeping track of my income and expenses religiously, logging them each month. I wanted to get a clearer picture of each property, not just the total portfolio, but each property and how much income it was bringing in and how much expenses and how much was the cash flow really. Like, not just computing it in my head, but actually entering the numbers in an Excel spreadsheet. The other thing that I focused on was tenant quality. A vacant property is better than having a bad tenant. And I've had a bad tenant and I learned this the hard way. And then the third is quality properties. Even if the cash flow isn't as sexy, sometimes I'll see deals that have really high cash flow, look really good on paper, but they're in a weird part of town, or there's, all the other properties in that area are all rentals. So that means there's so much competition when you're trying to get quality tenants. So I really tried to dial in on good quality properties. When I started being religious about bookkeeping, this was about 2 years ago, this exercise made me realize one property was an alligator. An alligator is a property that your expenses for that property are greater than all the income that it brings in. And this property was actually the one that I thought was the highest cash flowing property. I bought it because I thought it would give me fantastic cash flow. But nothing was further from the truth. And it was draining my cash flow each month. And it was giving me a lot of headaches and problems because of the location. Almost every month there was something wrong with it. Some months it cost me thousands of dollars. And it felt like a thorn on my side, just so many problems, one after the other. And so a couple of months ago, I decided to sell it, even if I was gonna lose some money by selling it, because all the expenses each month, because of all the expenses that it had almost every month. But I'm taking all those lessons and reflecting on them to make sure I don't repeat them. And that's why I say I invest slowly, because imagine if I had 10 of those kinds of properties, then the compounding of those mistakes would have been so much worse. And I would have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars instead of thousands of dollars. So I'm a tortoise now. I'm going slowly. And I think for where I am in my season of life, that's the right pace for me. I don't want to get pressured just because of what other real estate investors are doing. So where I've landed in all this is I still believe in real estate, but I no longer believe in rushing. I still have 5 rentals. I sold the 6th one, so I'm back to 5, but I'm in no rush of replacing that one that I sold. In my 40s, I care more about quality of properties, of tenants, and of life than I do about door count. Slow and steady really does win the race. If you're a few steps behind me, especially if you're starting in your 40s, I want you to know this. Your pace is your pace. You don't need 20, 30, or 60 doors to be successful. You don't need to keep a bad property just because it looks good on paper. And you don't need to chase every deal that comes your way. No tenant is better than a bad tenant, and no deal is better than a bad deal. Real estate is a long game, and we all learn by doing. We all make mistakes, and sometimes the smartest move is slowing down, course correcting, and protecting your peace. If this video helped you feel a little more grounded or confident in your own journey, then it did exactly what I hoped it would do. Leave me a comment on what you think. Let me know what you think about investing slower, but a little smarter in your 40s. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.